What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Dumpster Talk episode. We have a special guest here with us. We have Todd Haberstroh from Hiltz Propane. We're happy to have you here. Thanks for coming on. If you just want to give like a little background on what you guys are all about and how you kind of got to Hiltz.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me today.
First time on the podcast.
Yeah, it is my first podcast.
First time.
Cool to be out here in the dumpster with you guys. A little bit of entertainment. So actually, I'm here today because I ran into your group down at the Marriott, I think, at the presentation where Steve Wozniak from Apple was discussing. And I think I pulled you aside and talked to you guys for a little bit, and that's where I got the introduction. So appreciate you guys having me out here. This is a really cool thing that you guys are doing. How many episodes? I think you're up in the 40s?
Yeah, 40. Yep. So I think this is our
44?
44.
Number 44. Outstanding. 44. Well, again, appreciate you having me over today. So Hiltz Propane Systems, a small family-owned company. Matt Hiltz is our owner. He's the one that started the company, first generation. And really it started, Matt had a background working in the propane industry at a wholesale, working at a wholesale rail side facility. And Matt really saw the need for growth and building of infrastructure, right? So we don't deal with propane gas at all in terms of the resale. We are more building, from a construction standpoint, putting in the tanks and the infrastructure that actually holds that storage. And again, that's on the commercial end. Your gas retailers. That's industrial users who maybe use propane as part of their heating process, or even the agricultural, heating barns and that type of thing. So Matt saw a huge need, and where he was previously really didn't see that vision that Matt had. And one day Matt just decided, hey, I'm going to go out on my own, and I'm going to start my own company that really specializes in this. There's not too many folks in the industry that we're in. So again, it's been about 12 years. Matt went out on his own, bought a tractor trailer, hired a gentleman to drive it for him. And he really started off just by buying used propane tanks. So we're talking bulk propane tanks. Our bread and butter size are like the 18 and 30,000 gallon. Again, your smaller stuff at home might be like 150, it might be 420s. Again, we're talking the 18,000 would be on the smaller end of what we work with. And again, it's the bulk usage. So Matt started flipping tanks, buying tanks, reselling them, and then he got his first opportunity to install a plant, and really went from there to where we're at today. Today we operate in the New England states, Mid-Atlantic, and down as far as the Carolinas. We don't get much out past Ohio at this point, but we're certainly growing, and I think ideally in the next 10 years we'd like to potentially even operate east of the Mississippi. For our footprint. So yeah, lots of opportunity for growth. So that's the plant installation side of the business. Again, we install from really soup to nuts, right? We'll do everything that the customer's looking for, including permitting, the construction, up into training of the individuals who are going to operate the plant. Over and above the plant installation, we do service and maintenance of those systems as well. Both existing customers as well as new customers, folks who have plants and are looking for, they might have a leak, or maybe the pump's pumping slow, or maybe they just want to come in and have us do a compliance check, make sure it's meeting NFPA 58 standards, and it's safe and operational. So we do that in the same footprint. And then our third revenue stream is really buying and selling of those bulk tanks nationwide. We procure those tanks, bring them back to our facility. Sometimes we sell them as is, again, if it's a good tank and serviceable. Other times we bring them back to the shop and we'll repurpose it or refurbish it, which is really a blasting of the tank. Takes it down to the steel, bare steel, and we'll open the tank up if there's a manway, make sure it's clean inside, new manway gaskets and hardware, and then we'll put a fresh coat of shop primer on it, and it'll be ready for installation or resale. So those are really the three revenue streams that we do today. Again, based out of Marietta, Pennsylvania, just off of 441, and we continue to grow. Lots of huge opportunity growth in the industry.
Sweet. Yeah. How'd you kind of how long have you been with Hiltz, and like what's your role there?
Yeah, so I'm coming up on 9 years with Hiltz. Today I'm the director of finance and HR. I oversee a little bit of the IT that we outsource to a third party. I've been with Hiltz, again, 9 years, I think is September. Have an accounting background, so again, when Matt was first starting out, it was a huge area of need, and he needed really somebody to help on the administrative side of the business, which I was with a regional accounting firm here in Lancaster, and was really looking for something a little bit more diverse than just putting together financial statements and tax returns. And I certainly found it with Hiltz. I came on board. There's only 2 of us administratively, and running the gamut between accounting, HR, IT. Basically, small business. You really find that whatever needs to be done. A lot of times you're wearing multiple hats, and you just do what you need to do to get the job done. So it's been a great 9 years, and looking forward to a bright future for sure with Hiltz.
For sure. Well, congrats on 9 years. I know we were talking to Dan before this. You said the owner of the company is Matt, you said?
That's right.
He said, Dan was saying he worked like 17 to 18 hours a day.
Yeah, Matt's one of those guys. He's a grinder, puts in a lot of hours. It's not uncommon for him to shoot out emails at 3 in the morning or 9 o'clock at night, right? He's seems like he's always on, but we have gotten better at that as we've grown. We've been able to diversify, add some additional folks onto our team, which Matt's been able to delegate to. It wasn't too long ago where we had 15, 18 employees. Today we're probably mid 45, and that's grown quite a bit just in the last year or two. We see huge opportunities to continue to push that and grow not only the number of folks on our team, but also the amount of customers we're able to serve on an annual basis.
How important do you think it was because like that's pretty selfless of someone to kind of work like that many hours a day? He definitely had like a goal. How important do you think that kind of was?
It was
like
vital
for the company.
When you start a company, that's a lot of times what it takes, right? It's long hours. It's like I said, grinder. Being a grinder. That's how Matt would describe it. And it's really a necessity when you're starting a young business. You don't have the financial. A lot of times, you don't have the financial ability to just hire folks and put in place around you. So you're wearing all those hats right out of the gate a lot of times. And that was certainly where Matt was. I know there was times where he sat above his garage and at probably 2, 3 in the morning writing out checks to vendors and making payroll and doing those kinds of things. And truly, as a young businessman, that's a lot of times where you start. So it was vital, and Matt's been very selfless in terms of the business for a lot of the years early on, and getting the business to where it's been, even in terms of reinvesting revenues each year back into the business. And I think it's tempting a lot of times for young folks when you have a successful business to want to live a little and pull some of that money out. Matt certainly early on what was an example to us as a company and how we were going to run it, and very conservative in nature, and just putting that money back in so that we have the best equipment, and we're able to pay our employees well, treat everybody well, and just continue to grow the business. So I think it was vitally important from that standpoint.
Definitely. Dan talks a lot with us about how you need to be able to multitask, and especially when you're in a small business. So it's like you said, everyone wears so many different hats.
That's absolutely true, and I think you'd find that's the case with a lot of, especially family-owned small businesses. That you have to be a jack of all trades in a lot of cases until you get to the point where you're able to bring those folks on and help delegate and really grow. I think that's where you really see, with early on, you have the idea, you have the heart and the desire to do that. But I think you really see things take off when you get to the point where the company has maybe matured a little bit, and then, like I said, you can afford to bring those resources on that really specialize in certain areas and can kind of take it to the next level. So vitally important.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Makes a
Dan,
lot of
he's a good role model for us here. He's kind of like that. He wears a lot of hats.
It definitely sounds similar.
Yeah, we had a meeting last week, and we were just talking about like the accounting side of things and like the finance, and it kind of popped into my head. I was like, who does that like here? Because we don't have like an accountant here or anyone to do that. And Dan was like, he was like me. So
How exciting was that for you?
I mean, it gives like.
Did you love the accounting aspect of it?
So I'm not big into that area. I do want to kind of get in that area, but it was good to hear that from him, because he doesn't have to do any of the stuff he does for us, and he's still doing like all this stuff like the accounting for here. It really opened my eyes up to like I don't have it as hard as I think, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys is it a second or third generation?
Dan's third generation.
Third generation at this point. So how many years in business?
80 years.
Yeah, 80 years. So that's incredible. I said we're just scratching year 12, so very young. But again, I attribute a lot of success to the tone at the top, Matt setting an example for expectations, as far as hard work and how he's going to build the company. So it sounds like Dan and even the folks before him have set that as well. So 80 years, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's nice because like our bosses are third generation, but Ron and I have a good relationship we all have a good relationship with Uncle Mike as well. Mm-hmm. He's retired, but Ron's here every day, so it's kind of good to see like we were in his office the other week, and he has a slip that his grandfather or his dad wrote up, like prices from like 1940, copper prices, and it's just like cool to see like kind of like the pride. Like I really like family-owned businesses. Like it's cool to see. I'm not part of the family; they make us feel like we are, but it's just cool to see like the family aspect of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what's in terms of experience or background? Where have you guys worked prior to coming to Sahd's? And I know you guys are doing the interview, but I just have questions that I'm trying to, I'm curious.
I worked at Smith's, like the cheesesteak shop across the street.
Making sandwiches?
Yep.
Okay.
And then also Andy's, which is like another sub shop.
Okay, so both local family businesses. Okay,
Yeah.
what about you guys?
I'm a little older than them, so I have a little more experience, and I also job hopped pretty decently. But I finally have set in where I want to.
How long have you been here?
I've been here since November.
Okay. Planning on staying a little while?
Yeah, I'm not leaving.
Okay.
They're stuck with me. I keep telling Mike and Dan that. But
okay.
So I worked at Alcoa right out of high school.
Yep.
So I started with aluminum.
Sure.
And then went to Americold, and forklifts and everything still there. And then I ended up down in Turkey Hill, and I was truck driver for them. And now, so they kind of everything kind of mashed in together. So truck drive here,
On the
forklift here, helping the yard here. So yeah, kind of everything, and I'm back into metal, so everything kind of made a full circle.
Excellent. How about you, Todd?
So I have a very big background. My resume is pretty big.
Okay.
I'm 20, but I've worked at most of the places in Columbia: Smith's, Andy's, Subway.
Yeah, we all work at Smith's.
Hinkles, Giant. Yeah, I worked a lot. Like I started working when I was 15, so like summer jobs. So like it's not like I left.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I never really. I did a year of school, and this June will be 2 years of me here.
Yeah.
So I'm not leaving here.
So I would say that that background can be invaluable to you. When I look back at coming out of high school, I always felt like there was some folks that I graduated with as a senior in high school. They knew what they wanted to do for a living, right? I want to be an attorney, I want to be a dentist, and I always felt like those individuals just had a leg up on everybody else, because coming out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, right? Had no idea. I come from a blue collar family, right? I have 4 older brothers and a sister, and a lot of them are in trades, whether it's a machinist, welders, carpenters, pipe fitters. That's their background. So I grew up with that blue collar mentality, and I think that really helped me understand. In fact, a large part of my working career, I was in blue collar positions. So I worked initially. I started out I was at Thayer's Labs up in Marietta. We're making the flu vaccine, right? And I was I just did some odd jobs there. Then I went to R.R. Donnelly and Sons, right? At the time, it was the world's largest commercial printer. Thayer's was owned by American Home Products, which they make all kinds of stuff. Similac, Formula, Advil, Jiffy Pop popcorn. There's quite a wide variety of products that they made. So very large company that was a small division. Again, R. Donnelly Son and Sons, very large commercial printing company. And then I went to Harley Davidson. I was there for 14 or 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So again, a very diverse background. Printing, call it medicine production, and then motorcycle manufacturing. And I think that really helped me gain a better understanding of different types of businesses. And again, I brought that blue collar mentality. And then I recognized, that I had some ability and decided to go back to school and got a business degree, and then went on from my business degree, got an accounting degree, and only got an opportunity at a public accounting firm, which allowed me to land the position I'm at now, helping Matt. But it is extremely helpful having that background, because I can understand a lot of what the guys are seeing in the field. I understand, when we look at invoices, a lot of times I'm helping the bookkeeper understand, what was purchased in terms of tooling or parts, plate, that's those types of things. So the broader you can, the wider, I guess, the experiences that you can learn, especially at this age, right? Because you're not tied down, you don't have a lot of commitments, and you have the opportunity to take some risks and just learn, maybe even dabble in some things that you want to do. It just really broadens your horizons and can pay dividends for your future. So I would say certainly consider those opportunities. Look at your background and the diversity as a stepping stone, but always keep in front of you kind of what you want to do, or what how that can help you, I guess, move forward. If that makes sense.
For sure. It's definitely good. I found with a lot of the different episodes we've done with the dumpster talks, like a lot of the guys say, we work with a lot of brokers. So when we started working here, we all started kind of doing the same thing, torching, and work our way up. And a lot of the brokers we work with, they kind of just, when they got into the industry, they just started selling metal, which kind of was hard for them to learn the metal. They didn't have the background knowledge, like you said.
Sure.
So it was really hard for them. So
I don't really know what they're selling or what they're buying.
Yeah, so that definitely resonates with me. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're saying, I heard you talking with Dan. I guess your older brother actually worked here?
He did. He worked here for a little while. I don't remember. I think he's been with us for probably
now he works with Hiltz?
Yeah. He works with us for 4 or 5 years. So prior to that, Randy, I don't know, do you guys know my older brother, Randy?
He was just here.
Yeah. So Randy had worked with Heil Corporation making tank trailers for, it was close to 30 years. I have 27 stuck in my mind. They were down on Hempstead Road down in Centerville there. And they had consolidated operations and moved everything to their Texas facility. So Randy was out of a job, and he kind of bounced around a couple different places. He worked for Rail Mechanical Services, which you guys are probably familiar with. They're local. Worked here for a little bit, and then ultimately we had a job down in Florida, of all places, that we needed somebody with some welding background, and I think we actually brought Randy on as a temp employee for a couple-week job down there. Honestly, I don't even think we needed him to weld. I think it was as a fire watch for our welders. And we brought him on, and at the time we had an opportunity. He did a good job down there. The guys, really liked what he had done. So we brought him on, and we've been stuck with him ever since. So,
how is it working with your brother? Because we see Dan and Michael. They're not brothers, cousins. We see a lot of family working together. How's that kind of work for you? We don't have a lot of opportunity to actually work together. I'm in the office. Randy's out in the shop and in the field a lot of times. So. We don't really see each other that much, to be honest. So there's no conflict. There's not much opportunity for interaction at all. So it don't really have that family feel that certainly Dan and Ron would see. But it is pretty cool. I mean, it was at a time where he was looking for a position, and we had something that fit his skill set. So
it worked out.
It worked well. Yeah, it worked well.
Yeah,
awesome.
I wanted to touch on. We were looking at your website earlier. It's kind of neat that you guys don't contract almost anything out. You guys have drivers. You have your own welding team. You have your own recycling team. Pretty much painters, everything. You don't really see many companies do everything almost seems like everybody contracts something out. Do you think that's beneficial for you guys, or do you think it shows people like? Because I think that kind of shows that you're like a really good company, that you have all those branches of different people who can do everything.
Yeah, I think it is definitely a selling point. It's something that Matt was always a focus of his. It's a difficult industry in that every state has its own permitting process, its own requirements. So, for example, in Pennsylvania, we go to Haberstroh, to the Department of Labor and Industry, and all permitting for what we do for bulk plants goes through the boiler division of Labor and Industry. When you go into New York, I don't know the specifics, but it's based on the county, right? You actually go to the county level for permitting and whatnot. So every state, again, right now we're again up through Maine and down in the Carolinas. Every state has their own quirks and licenses and requirements. It does all fall under NFPA 58 as our code requirement, but the local municipalities for licensing and permitting have their own requirements as well. So it can be a real chore for the customer. A lot of times they understand their side of the business in terms of delivering fuel to their customers, delivering gas. What they don't have a good background is the construction piece of it, and actually building those plants. So what we try to do is bring that to the customer, and bring our expertise and the relationships that we've built over the years with, whether it's crane operators or electricians. We are still, we do pride ourselves on being, again, soup to nuts and providing that entire product to the customer. There are some areas that we do still either sub out or we let the customer handle. One of those is site work. The excavating piece, a lot of times we'll see that the project is actually bigger than just us putting in the tank. There might be an additional building or some underground trenching, or we might be hooking into an existing facility. So a lot of times we don't have the relationship with, let's use like Maine for an example, with a local site excavator or excavating company. So a lot of times it just makes sense for them to contract that out. Now we'll work hand in hand. We'll be on site and we'll help guide them. Dictate where the holes need to be dug and how deep, and monitor site compaction, that type of thing. But that's one that we let the customer handle. The other one would be the electrician. Again, we work hand in hand. We give them all the requirements, give them all the specs that need, and where everything needs to be installed. But again, a lot of times our customers have a local contractor, local electrician that they work with. We will take that on if the customer has no experience and no contacts, no relationships in the area. But we find that it's worked better for us and for the customer to let them handle those two aspects of the job. Beyond that, again, we do subcontract the crane. We handle all aspects of that, right? It's our job site, at least that's the way we view it. It's our job site, and we want to make sure that we have, not only from a safety standpoint, but also quality, right? We want to dictate and just have full control over how we're handling that while we're on site. So again, we set all that up. We coordinate that with when our folks are going to be on site, when our tanks are going to arrive, and really, try to control those aspects of the project. But for the most part, we do have the majority of that under our control.
Yeah, that's super nice because it takes like almost everything out of the customer's like stress level drops.
You're right. That's a big selling point. If you look at it from our side, one of the things that we look at is, we have a truck, two trucks there potentially, one with a tank and one with a set of piers on it. We have a crane there, which aren't cheap. We have our crews there, and sometimes there's other trades there as well. So if it's not well coordinated and we don't have control of that, it can get very costly.
Oh yeah.
If we were to sub out the transportation of tanks, for example, and we have a crane set up for an 8 o'clock lift, and the truck gets tied up in traffic or whatever, we don't have a whole lot of control over that. So we like, again, just maintaining control over the job site from a cost perspective, as well as the quality and safety aspects.
Yeah, I can tell you guys really care about like serving your customers. How important would you say that is at Hiltz?
Extremely important, and again, that starts with Matt, right? That's really one of the drivers is meeting the customers' expectations and meeting their needs, giving them what we tell them we're going to deliver. So again, when you talk about tone at the top and what the values that Matt's instilled, that's one of them that he's really driven down is taking care of the customer. When we got started, it's been about 2 years. You guys are familiar with EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. So that's something we're about a year and a half, 2 years into. And when we look at what our mission and vision are, worded a little bit differently in EOS, but really what it comes down to is serving the customer, meeting their needs. And when we were doing that, we got some stories about just some employees and some of the things that happened over the years. There's a gentleman on our crew who we were doing a job site. I believe it was upstate New York, somewhere in New York. And while we were there, typically a typical job for us is a single tank, like an 18 or a 30 for like a mom and pop type retailer, gas retailer. And typically we're on site for 4 or 5 days. Usually in a week we can knock a full install out. And this gentleman's name was Tom, was staying on site. And at one point, I think it was like maybe a FedEx truck or mail delivery had pulled in and run over a mailbox, right, and broke it off. And Tom, saw that it happened and just went out and got the materials, concrete, whatever was needed, and replaced the post and the mailbox post for her while he's on site, doing this tank install. She didn't ask him to do it. He just went ahead and did it. And really that's like one of the stories that came out of, that's really what it's all about. Like we want to meet the needs and go above and beyond and just help and meet the expectation of what the customer's looking for. So stories like that are really cool and just emphasize, kind of where Matt's coming from in terms of how we want to treat folks and the people we do business with, not just our customers, but our employees and our vendors alike, right?
Yeah.
We want to give everybody that same respect and just go above and beyond.
Yeah, because a lot of places they won't even. Oh, we don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
And then he went out
sorry.
and did
Yeah,
it
It's
himself.
easy to just keep going after
Yeah,
something
but it was
like
really
that.
cool of him just to
Yeah.
take that upon himself and go out and get it done. So
That's awesome.
a lot of cool stories like that for sure. Yeah.
Well, we have one of our buddies that work at Harley Davidson.
Okay.
Um,
What's he doing?
So he's like at the end of the line, like
On the assembly line.
yeah, the end of the line, like the bikes come to him when they're all finished. I guess he does like checks a couple loose end things at the end, and then he loads them, uses the hoist and loads them onto the truck.
Yeah.
So he's towards the end of part of the production.
He's also like the team lead as well, right?
Oh, he not any. He was like in his last spot that he was at. Yeah.
Yeah, my time at Harley was really cool. Great experience. Again, I owe a lot to my time spent there. It paid for 2 of my degrees, actually, my undergrad in business as well as accounting. They afforded me that opportunity, and I certainly took advantage of it. But great time spent there. I worked with a lot of great people. I was there about between 14 and 15 years. Did a lot of different things. I worked on the assembly line. I worked in the wheel area, putting wheels together. Worked in the fabrication shop. Worked in the press area, stamping gas tanks and fenders. Worked in the paint area. Lots of opportunity there to move around and just grow your skill set. Learn new things, which was really cool. My last 2 years there. So during the time I was there, I was at Harley from '96 to right around 2011. And the last 2 years, Harley was going through a restructuring phase where they built the facility as it stands today over in York. Prior to that, we were in an old, I don't even know, it was probably built in the, my guess would be late early 1900s. And it was actually an old naval facility. One time they used to actually build bombs in that facility, and then AMF took it over, and I think they used to build everything from, I think, golf carts and I don't know what all. But Harley moved in there, I believe, in the 1980s. And we were at a point when I was getting ready to leave, they were in a restructuring phase. And they built a new building up on the hill. And I think prior to that, they had final assembly in York, Pennsylvania, and Kansas City, Missouri. And in York, they were working on the heavyweight motorcycles, the Softails, the FLHs, like I said, the touring motorcycles, and then they had a couple assembly lines for the customer vehicle operations, or CVOs, which were like higher end models for the Softails and Ultras, the touring bikes. And then out in Kansas City, they did the V-Rods, they did the Sportsters, and kind of feel like they might have done the Dyna models out there as well. So my last 2 years they spent during this reconstruction, or this phase where they were combining all those assembly lines. I think there might have been seven plus, might have been more than seven assembly lines. In New York we also had the Triglides, right, the three-wheel motorcycle as well. So my final 2 years, they were going through a phase where there was a group of us working on pulling all those different assembly lines into a single assembly line, so we could run any of those units. And my days were spent, they called it the Softail Lab, and we would go in and we had like one of each motorcycle model, and we would strip it down to the frame and then rebuild it and try to capture what that process looked like, building the motorcycle from beginning to end. And then motorcycles are quite different, right? They're not the same, and the assembly process for each of those lines was very different too. So I think, like I said, we spent 1.5 years, 2 years doing that on a daily basis and trying to identify what parts needed to be in what stations on the assembly line and how many stations we needed, and the amount of time. And so it was a really cool process. During that process, they also introduced the Toyota production process, which was completely different than what we had done previously, and focused around some processes like Kanban and some the just-in-time and those types of processes. So really, again, really cool. Really helped me from a manufacturing process, and really, when I came into Hiltz, I had that manufacturing background, and it just helped me understand, even though I'm on the administrative, the accounting side, helped me understand that piece of the process, and just give me a broader view of how things work together.
Definitely. Do you ride at all?
I was just gonna say,
I do. When I was at Harley, I had I bought my very first brand new motorcycle. I had never owned a brand new car or motorcycle. I brought a what was it called? A night train. It was a Softail model. It was all blacked out. Had the 21-inch front wheel. Had that for a while. When I was growing up, I had sport bikes. I had the GSXRs, CBR. So even when I was younger, I grew up riding three-wheelers, four-wheelers, snowmobiles, that kind of stuff. So always loved stuff with horsepower, and always loved that kind of stuff. Currently, I have a 2018 Street Glide. I don't know if you're familiar with what that looks like, but it's one of the touring motorcycles, but a little bit of a sportier model. So I love it. My wife and I enjoy going for rides. A neighbor, we get out with them once in a while. We'll go down to Lake Maryland, have a crab feast or something. Just get out and go for a ride. How about you guys? Anybody ride motorcycle here?
No, I was gonna get a bike earlier this year, but I decided it was best for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What best for you financially, from a safety standpoint?
I mean, I'm young, so it wouldn't hurt me that much, but just safety wise, I would say. And it was a DRZ 400.
Okay.
Suzuki, so yeah, I decided not to. I'm happy I made the decision.
Yeah.
Because I live only like 5 minutes from here, so I thought it'd be cool to have something to just drive here instead of my car.
Yeah.
But no,
I've been in too many four-wheeler accidents for anything doesn't have doors. Well, I have a Jeep that doesn't have doors, but anything that I can't be strapped into.
Yeah.
But
You?
No
motorcycles.
No motorcycles.
Well,
my pap rides
I
Harley.
will say this.
Yeah.
I will say this. If you ever do decide to get a motorcycle, for me anyway, I always find that you have to be on the defensive all the time. Like, I'm always looking to see what other people are doing, because a lot of times either they don't see you, or they think you're more maneuverable, you can stop, you can avoid them, or they're just maybe even inconsiderate. So you're always on the defensive and looking out. The second thing I would say is, if you do it, take one of the rider safety courses. I really think they're invaluable. During my time at Harley, they would do them a couple times a year out in the parking lot. I don't know if they still do them there or not, but I think they were free, or they might have been like 20-30 bucks. I think it was very low cost. And I had ridden for several years prior to taking that course. And, you know, I was young, I was in my 20s, thought I knew everything, but it's, you know, the amount of stuff that you learn there is really, really incredible. I went with a group of like 4 or 5 of my buddies. You know, we all had, you know, sport bikes at that time, and we thought that this is going to be a joke. But it was really, really good knowledge, and I'd encourage anybody really that rides a motorcycle
save your life for
to
sure.
take that. Yeah, and you know, again, when you ride, just make sure that you're safe about it. Wear the, you know, the proper gear, and you know, just be on the lookout for other folks.
It's the only scary part for me. Like, I trust me driving, but you can't trust other people.
That's right,
really, out on the road. Like,
It's just like driving a truck.
That's right. Yeah.
Our other truck driver, Juan, he's really into. I don't know what bike he has. He has a couple of them.
he has
But-
I was gonna buy the DRZ off of him. He has a bunch of bikes.
He goes down to Philly and does like ride outs and stuff.
Okay.
A bunch of like huge group. So
Yeah. No, it's a good time. Again, it's just nice to get out. You know, the wind
Fresh
in your
air.
face, and road therapy, right? Just get out there and you know, kind of veg out.
Well,
Enjoy the ride.
I do have one more question, but it's not about motorcycles.
Sure.
I know you're saying, and as you said earlier, about like your growth and everything, and you're growing more and more. Do you think your customer service has been your standout point for your growth? Okay, you think that has catapulted your growth with the way you do things?
So again, I go back to Matt with what his expectation was, and how he ran the business, and you know, how he wants to see it continue to be run. Matt has always talked about his responsiveness to the customer. You know, and I think that's paramount. We see that today, and maybe you guys do too as well, where you reach out to somebody, whether it's a customer, a vendor, or whomever, and you don't hear back at all, or maybe it takes several days to hear back. Being responsive to the customer gives you so much grace with the customer, and maybe that's not the right word, but when they see that you're willing to get back to them, you know, and again, I recognize that, you know, Matt early on spent a lot of time on the road, so it was difficult, right?
Yeah.
To be responsive, but you know, he would either pick up the phone or shoot a text message or shoot a quick email. You know, within 24 hours at the most, let him know that, hey, I got your message. I don't have an answer for you right now, but yeah, for sure, I hear you, and I'll get back to you, and set some kind of expectation of when I'll have an answer for them. But customer service is really a dying, I don't know if it's an art or, you know, what you want to call it, but I think it's invaluable, especially today more than ever, that you know, like I said, it seems like it's a lost art. So yeah, absolutely. You know, Matt has always you know, instilled in us that you know, you certainly want to, whether it's customer, vendor, it doesn't matter, whoever you're doing business with, be timely in your response, and you know, get back to them with the information you need. So customer service is incredibly important, for sure, and you know, certainly has led to us, I think, getting you know, just growing and getting jobs that you know, maybe other folks that we were competing against you know, may have lacked. I will say that quality has always been on the top of Matt's chart as well. Matt's up front with his customers that, you know, a lot of times we're not the cheapest, but we provide things, you know, customer service that you're talking about, quality. We really feel like the system that we install is going to serve the customer, and you know, we back that up. We've had numerous calls from competitors, from customers who've had competitor systems put in place that they went with the lowest price offer and were unhappy with their performance, or you know, maybe there's a quality issue with it, and ultimately we would end up putting a system in for them, or maybe even redesigning their current system so that it was you know, more user friendly, or you know, met their performance expectations. So yeah, again, a lot of things from a business standpoint feed into that, but customer service is certainly one at the top.
People want to work with people they like.
Absolutely, yeah,
for
absolutely.
For sure.
People that and people that want to work with them, right? I mean, if you know, again, you would take your time and get them back to somebody, they really question, you know, what is your dedication to me as your customer. So yeah, it's highly important.
I feel like then if your price is a little higher, even though you have, like, when you have that trust built, it's not really going to be that big of a factor.
Yeah.
Price
Well, a lot
might
of
be
times
higher,
too.
you guys take care of a lot of the stuff that they might have to take care
That's
of
right.
otherwise.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of times too, we value the opportunity if our price is higher, just for the customer to tell us that, and maybe even let us give them some insight into why our price is higher. Like, what are we providing to you that low-cost provider isn't? And if ultimately they decide to go with a low-cost provider, at least we've had our opportunity to explain the cost differential and why we think or why we can show that our product is better and what you're going to get with Hiltz versus a competitor. So yeah, we value that opportunity.
For sure.
Sweet. Well, to kind of wrap things up here, we're all pretty young. Mason, he's a little older, 27.
Yeah.
21, 20. What advice would you have want someone to give yourself when you were 20? Like, if you could do a little flashback and just give yourself some advice.
I guess like personal life and in the business also.
Yeah, I would say, and I think this goes for both personal and business, is the value of building relationships. I've always been maybe a bit of an introvert, right? Keep to myself. And as I've gotten older and spent more time in business, I just can't undervalue the importance of building relationships and maintaining those relationships. And again, that's on a personal level and on a business level. There's probably some bridges that I burnt early on as a young man that I didn't understand, or I could have handled it differently. And they talk about older and wiser. I certainly have learned from other folks too that just really valuing relationships and treating people with respect and being timely in your response. All those things really I think will bode well for all you guys. There's an old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I think that really lends itself to the relationship piece. I would say there's certainly a lot of importance to building your knowledge base and having a lot of knowledge to rely on. That'll get you places, but really the who you know piece of it too is invaluable. It can just open up so many opportunities to you. So be careful what bridges you burn, if you burn any. Ideally sometimes it's better to give people grace and try to amend those relationships where possible, and sometimes you just have to go the other way, but be the bigger person and don't burn that bridge if at all possible. But I would say just really value the relationships. One of the things when I pulled you guys aside down at the Marriott was, I'd mentioned I see you guys at speaking engagements like that. I see you at the High Center and those speaker series. The opportunity that you guys are getting at in your 20s, that Dan and the folks here at Sahd are providing for you is just incredible. So take advantage of that. Just soak all that up and really value the opportunity that you're given, because it's I think it's rare. I think what the Sahd are doing is just incredible for you. So really take all that in and really use it to build upon your career. Whether it's here or at a place in the future, just realize that these are important steps in that growth.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
some great advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on as well.
Yes, thank
It's
you.
great to have
Podcast
you.
down.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the invite. This is really cool what you guys do. Again, this is an opportunity for you guys to expand your horizons, learn from other folks in the industry, and just build relationship building, right? So this is just another example of what you're being, the opportunity you're being given. So yeah, value that for sure.
yeah.
So
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate the time today, guys. It's been,
Thank you.
Thank you.
been
Appreciate
awesome,
you as
and
well.
best of luck to you. I love watching these series on LinkedIn, and hope you keep it rolling.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.